All right, I'm live. I like to sneak up on y'all with this live, and it's the easiest way for me to upload a video and to take it down, snatch it, and throw it on YouTube. So I'm banned again on Facebook. Um, Anybody that knows, how I post on Facebook, they know I'm very tactful, and it's crazy because you're more likely to get banned for saying woman than saying bitch. So I got banned for 30 days because I used a post that said woman. And the last time I got banned, I used the word biology. So biology is more so the real B word now. It's not even bitch. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, man. For people to look out for me on Facebook, I'm banned for 30 days, and I'm on Twitter, so you can catch me under the same name, King Collage with the Q for King. And anyway, I'm gonna get into it because it doesn't really matter how many people come up in this live because I'm just throwing this on YouTube. So basically, pretty much everything everybody does is stemming from life and life and death, birth and death. So if people are born, it's going to affect every activity of the people around them and everybody and everything that they do in their life. So and the same thing if people die. So it's never when or why is the way that you die. It's never when or why so much in birth either, but or arrival, however you want to look at it. It's a better word, arrival. It's never really when or why. It's just the way. Everything is somewhat, mainly just the way. So really, when the reason that I feel like I have to or I have stopped um, having sex is because it's created basically sexual constipation in a sense because I'm not accepting the whole spectrum. It's like if I don't want to have a child, then I shouldn't be having sex. It's like if you don't want to defecate, then you shouldn't eat, and if you don't want to urinate, then you shouldn't drink. So it goes hand in hand. I feel like you have to accept the whole spectrum. You can't expect to inhale and then never exhale. So it's created basically a torturous situation for my body because I'm not accepting the whole spectrum. To to trick my body into having sex is really sexual abuse, self-sexual abuse, because the only way that my body will really activate for someone like that sexually is if they are a potential mate. So, or I have to not be myself. I have to be chemically, either be in a chemical induced oneness with them, or I won't be able to have sex with them. So, if I can have sex with them sober, like truly sober, like true, and especially in like a fasted state, where a state where you wouldn't naturally be so sexually inclined, that's more of a telltale sign if you are even compatible with this person like that creatively. And that's really what it's about. Creation, the process of creation is what you're learning through. So if you're compatible creatively, then it's not doesn't have to mean you're just going to make babies as soon as you meet them. It just means like, okay, my body can interact with their body in a creative way and not a destructive way. So why would I be involved with people that I'm not myself with if I have to not be myself to have sex with them? Because if I'm myself and then they're their self, then we're just one. And then the same thing, the child, it would all be a union, a triunity, a trinity, or whatever you want to call it. So um, that's and, whenever it comes to good sex, it's just someone that's really truly a potential mate, and to activate your body in that way and then not fully complete the course is really abusive to yourself. Like it's like if you didn't have an asshole and you were just eating and eating and eating, like that Wu-Tang shit. He was like, I'll sew your asshole closed and keep feeding you and feeding you. Or you know what I mean? Or I'll keep feeding you sleeping pills and cut your eyelids off. That's what it's like. Honestly, that's what it's like to have sex and then not even just be totally like, nah, I'm not even doing the other side of the spectrum. And I look at it like, the reason again, it's like everything that I've done is stemming from either births or deaths in my life. Everything I've ever done, someone dying close to me, or my own birth, or people around me, like my niece being born. People being born has influenced all the actions that I've taken in my life. So the way that I'm born, or the way that I arrive, rather, is is pretty much determining my response system. my whole initial response system to life is coming from the way that I arrive. If you came into a job, first day of the job, and you entered the building, and uh, they told you that you can't be with your family. They mutilated your genitals, and they stuck you up with a bunch of syringes. How would you feel about going into other job or going into any building from that point on? It's gonna interfere with the way that you maneuver throughout life. Everything you do is gonna be influenced by that experience because you're gonna carry it like for the rest of your days. It's there. It's embedded. It's part of you in a sense. So I really feel like the only way that I can have sex again is if I completely investigate natural arrival or natural birth, to where I'm actually in a position to where I can help people have children, whether it be my own or other people's. I feel like that's really the main problem in my life personally for the things that I've done is because the way I came here. Like we were speaking about in the last live I did with Pharaoh. He was saying like America is the world's police dog because there's so many circumcised males here, so they've been separated from their bodies from an early, because trauma is creating all that amnesia and separation between you and your body and yourself. Like you're blacking all that out because of that circumcision. So now you have this space between you and your body that something can be inserted in a program to where now you are more likely to be a weapon of the system or a cog in this military industrial complex world that we're in. So basically, I look at it like everything I've ever done is really stemming from being cesarean. And I think it's like 40% of births in the West are now cesarean. So that's just like a major trauma right there. You're going through the cesarean births and just being ripped from the womb instead of going through the natural process. And then you kind of never really born, in a sense. You never really arrived. Like you just been evicted, in a sense. Like you just were stolen out. So you have that. You have that right there. You have your cesareans. I know plenty of people are and especially as the days go in this culture, a lot more people are going to be cesarean. A lot of people have already been that. But that has definitely been an influence on my life. Hospital birth, my father not being there, he got there late. Bunch of stuff was wrong in that way. I'm not like here like asking for pity, but I'm just addressing the reality that there was a lot of neglect. And if you talk to your parents about this, they block it out because they're traumatized. They don't even want to accept it. And it's like when you like I was talking to Amy about this the other day, and she was like, "Yeah, man, if you think that you think you're over your trauma, you're not, because you're thinking like if you're over it or you're not. Either you're living and you're learning and you're being, or you're in your trauma responses and you're just responding to life and you're just constantly coping." So I just was looking at all the things in my life, like the cycle. It's all starting small, and then get hundreds of years. Who knows? Now you make the wrong decision, you get the wrong person pregnant, or you have an unconscious birth, a vanity birth, and then now hundreds of years later you return, and there's a lot of neglect because you neglected something small a long time ago. However you want to look at it, it's just the small things. There's really no big things in life. Everything is small things. So because again, pregnancy is a microscopic thing, really, as far as eggs and sperm are concerned. It's a small thing, very small things. So the small things would change all things. Small changes all. As I always say. So on top of being born or arriving in a hospital and being cut out, I was born jaundice. So they left me in a hospital for like multiple days alone, away from my family. And then, obviously I was circumcised like many males not in the West. I shouldn't say all of the West, because a lot of Europe isn't circumcised, but a lot of Americans are. So I was one of those people that was mutilated, had their genitals mutilated. And it's the most sensitive spot in the male body. It's like the male clitoris in a sense. And when I was living in Egypt, in the countryside, they were still performing female circumcisions, cutting the clitoris off because they said that woman, she shouldn't, sex isn't for pleasure, it's just for making babies. So I feel like there that once you've seen both sides of the spectrum, again, the whole spectrum has to be viewed for you to even like make decisions correctly in life. Um, then you can really see. I already knew at that point that circumcision was wrong, but once I moved to Egypt and actually met women like that, or saw women like that that were being treated like that, it's like, you know, it's like people need to see that in order to respect it, because there's plenty of women out here that have no empathy or no compassion for that. They just, because they just feel like, again, they're blocking it out. A lot of the times, if they're mothers and they did that to their sons, they're just blocking it out. They're just like, nah, there's nothing wrong with that. Even though I don't know what it's like to be a male and to have, the most sensitive area of my body cut and splayed with no anesthesia, you know. So parents blocking that out. So it's hard to communicate with people about it because they're in a trauma, In order to get to an unconscious birth, it's a bunch of trauma, a series of traumas led you to that. If you're having birth in a hospital, it's a bunch of like traumas that snowballed into now having a birth in this laboratory. It's not like it just happened. Oh, you just had to. You just having a birth trauma. Because that's really what we should call it. A hospital birth is a birth trauma in a sense. And so I just feel like it's everything is stemming from all creation is stemming from ejaculations and deaths. That's really it. So the way you do that is extremely important, or it's really of the essence, of life and how your life's gonna go. So everything is stemming from that. And basically, like if you look at it like that, like you're coming out your father, right? You're literally coming out of the father, out of the masculine, right? You can look at it like consciousness flows through the masculine, from the masculine into the feminine, into the woman, the womb man, and then into the material world, the matrix. And so the matrix. So you have the consciousness coming from masculine to feminine and then exiting through the moons. If from what I've witnessed in my life, my experiences, things culminate around the full moon, but a lot of cycles end around the new moon. So a lot of people die around the new moon. And I feel like typically, from my experience, what I've witnessed, people that die traumatically die around full moons. People that are dying more like how you should pass on are dying more around the new moons, where they're just in darkness, the more darkness, and it's a transitory time where your consciousness can shift out of here more smoothly instead of around all this light that's going to compete with your internal light as you transition. So that's the flow of consciousness from the masculine, obviously, from the masculine, from the seed to the egg, the feminine, so you're exiting your mother, then you exit the earth through the moon, your consciousness. These are portals. So you're coming in through the sun, and people say your rising sign, the sun every 2 hours, it shifts sign. So they say your rising sign is the most, the sign that's the most closely, it's the most particular. It has, it says the shape of your head and your face, the way you're perceived in life, and it's more close to your personality, So the sun there being the greatest influence as far as like a particular influence, and then after that you have the moon, because the moon is in signs for a few days. So you have the sun is in a sign for every 2 hours, and then the moon's in a sign, for your moon sign is based on where the moon was for 2 or 3 days when you were born, and the degrees and everything like that. So that's the flow of consciousness from the masculine into the feminine, and you exit your mother, you exit life out of the moon. So you look at demon or a day moon. A demon is a deity of the moon. So it's something that's going against the consciousness. The flow of consciousness is coming from masculine into the feminine, exiting out of the feminine. So when someone's a demon, they're coming from the moon. They're going against the natural flow of consciousness. So that's what the RH negative is. The RH negative is, people say like AI or bio AI, biological AI, organic AI, what have you. It's really anti-consciousness. in a sense, because consciousness is just learning and creating, and then you have the anti-consciousness that comes and destroys, creates things, turns things into compost so that uh, you'll have fertilizer for consciousness to come through, cycle back around, and create on that death, all that death. So you have anti-consciousness. That's what a daemon is. So souls are, again, solar, the sun. That's consciousness coming in, that is going with the flow of consciousness, with the natural process. And then you have something that's anti-consciousness, So that's what the RH negative is. Your RH positives are souls. They're solar. Then you have RH negatives are lunar, going against, that's what they say, fallen angel, going against the flow, regressing, coming backwards. And then you have this anti-person, a reverse person that is, the recessive, that's totally anti to life, anti-consciousness. So when people talk about supposed Jews or Jewish people running the world, they got to realize that that's not a faith. That's a bloodline. It's more so a bloodline. It's RH negative. You can Google it. It's on Wikipedia. Most of the Oriental Jews, what you call them Jews, are RH negative. And if you look at the Ladino Jews, the Sephardics, which a lot of Latin America is mixed with at this point, because they had Spain, because again, the River Eber, Spain is Iberia, the River Eber or Iberia, the Iberian River. Eber is who started Hebrew. So that's where you're getting the Sephardic Jews are stemming from that, or they took that, however you want to look at it. But one way or another, this is a bloodline. This is not a faith, and if you look at it like the Khazars, because the Scythians became the Khazars. The Khazars were not Jewish. They converted to Judaism or Judaism because they didn't want to merge with the Caliphate. They didn't want to be under the thumb of the Caliphate, and they didn't want to merge with the Byzantine Empire. So the Byzantine Empire is essentially just Eastern Rome. Eastern Rome is the Byzantines, where Constantinople and Turkey is today, and many places. They took over Egypt, a lot of that was all Eastern Rome. So West and East Rome. Western Rome fell, then East Rome fell later. But the Khazars didn't want to convert to Christianity because they would be under the thumb of Byzantines. And they didn't want to convert to Islam because they'd be under the thumb of the Caliphate. So they converted to Judaism because they knew it was a bigger religion that they could get people under, and then it was old, and it had old customs that would unite people, and then they could use it for trade with other Hebrews or people that had that faith. So it was a political move. It had nothing to do with who they were, And if you look at like what Hitler said, he said all wars ever are between Jews and Gentiles. Now, if you want to look at it like the original people are the actual true Jews, and then they warred against the Canaanites, and then the Canaanites eventually just usurped the identity and took the identity and bred with the Scythians, and that's who the Khazars are. Because a lot of the Sephardics are Canaanites, and the Khazars are modern-day Ukraine is Scythia. So that's where you're getting the Budini tribe. The Budini tribe is where you get most of the red-colored hair. So when people say like the Jufro or stuff like that, all of that, it's all RH negative stuff. It's all anti-consciousness stuff. So you can look at it that way. The original Jews fought the Canaanites and all of the Gentiles, or what the non-Jews at the time, the non-chosen people at the time, the grafts. And then things there's a identity theft that happened, and now the fake Jews are propagating all the war in their own way. However you want to look at it, man. However you want to look at this thing. It's not a faith. It's not like I'm coming at Judaism. I'm not coming at Jews as far as a faith. We're talking about RH negative bloodline that's hiding behind the Star of David or whatever, however you want to look at it. It's not there. It's not it's a gang of a bloodline, So this is the same people that, took over, again, fallen angels, right? The Anglos, we talk about Scythia, right? Scythia took over Germany because Germany was swarthy. Anybody with the last name Schwartz means black. Europe was swarthy in general, but Germany was swarthy. But then the Scythians came through, and that's who the Saxons were. Because another word for Scythians was Saka or Saki. They became Saxony. That northern Germany is still called Saxony to this day. And then you have the Anglos. They merged with the Saxons, so that's where you're getting fallen angels or Anglos, the Anglo-Saxon, and then they took over Britain, or which was Britain, and Scotland was Scot means black too. Scot means dark. So you had, all of Europe was dark skinned, and then the Scythians, which had bred with the Canaanites at that point, it just started started to gradually take over. And then you have, massive slave revolts because the Scythians were bred to be slaves. They were Rh negative is an empty vessel, like a clean slate, empty vessel that can just be manipulated more easily. So they were bred to be slaves. And then eventually they started to take over as they're being manipulated by disembodied beings. They're just hosts more so. They're not. You don't want to attack the body. Like, I don't want people to go out there and go just hurt people that they think are Jews or something. That's just this dumb host. It's something moving through that body. That is, this immaterial thing, or metaphysical, however you want to look at it, subtle material that's moving that body, that dumbass body around that doesn't know that it's a host, that's super vain. It doesn't really know itself. So it's just manipulated. It's really sad. So that's why I don't really feel like you should attack anybody. Because at this point, people, just the body, it's just like beating up a car because you got a problem with the driver. It's really just a process, man, like an internal process that people have realizing themselves, so that there's no, like when you cleanse your body, there's no space for a parasite to live in you no more. So then, it just has less and less space to exist. And then, life just runs its course. And then you don't have so much parasitism, or it's just sequestered in an area where that's known that that's what that area is, and people don't go to that area unless they know what they're getting when they go to that area. You get banished to that area, like in the Bible and Malachi. Yes, Malachi. It says, God says, I hated Esau, which is the Rh negative. It's the red hair, because Esau comes out red and hairy, right? So he said, I hate Esau. I love Jacob. I hate Esau. And I banished Edom, which is Esau's sons, to be scavengers of the wasteland. That was their condoned area that they had sanctioned to exist in. And if you did wrong things in your life, in your community, you get banished there too. So people that had the likeness of terribleness, or that just crossed lines, or that were born out of vanity or born out of inbreeding, they were pushed into those areas. And then now it's reached this threshold now to where so many people are crossbred with the graft, to where the disembodied beings that created them or wanted to make them flourish can now tap into most of the people on earth, because they're compromised. Most people are like a cracked phone. You look at like a phone that you can buy online, and it doesn't have a carrier that's designed for it. It's just a cracked phone. You can just throw any SIM card in it. That's basically what's going on. Like you don't destroy the phone itself. Like you investigate the phone. You don't really look at the phone like, oh, this is the problem. Like, it's the calls being made from the phone, whoever the user of the phone is. So it's like the same thing with people. Like there's something controlling them. And so that's all I kind of wanted to say, man. Like every war is Jews and Gentiles, man. And Scythia is Ukraine. And that's the breeding ground. So that's why they have the most surrogates to this day. And like I said, man, I'm not trying to do this for pity or nothing. I'm just calling a circle, and I'd rather be truly nude. I'd rather tell people these things, so when they meet me, it's no discrepancy. I don't want people to meet me under false pretenses, and it's just like knowing myself. The more I know myself. So I mean, maybe I'm just here to help other people have births, rather than myself have births. But I feel like either way, this place is a conscious energy grid, and you're gonna have synchronicity is gonna happen one way or another. Your body's gonna get shifted to wherever it's supposed to be based on life itself, because you're life itself in human form. So you're just an extension or a part of life itself. So if you're being neglectful and ignoring things and not enhancing yourself, not learning every day and making a conscious effort to learn every day, then you're going to just synchronize with people that are focused on being unconscious and being numb. It's just going to happen. It's not even like it's something that you can control because you control it through your daily activities. Once you've committed to ignorance, though, you've committed to that. You're going to get ignorance from that. You're going to meet ignorant people. You're going to create ignorant babies. It's not like something, it's not like something that you stop once it's arrived. People be like, oh man, how do I stop this? It's like, man, you've made a million decisions up until this point. It's a bunch of small decisions that created this massive situation now. So it's really just like your daily, whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeding yourself daily as far as knowledge and practical knowledge. That's really my focus now, is just learning practical knowledge, picking up books about wiring, anything, honestly, just anything I can learn at this point. Now that I'm back sober, I just want to read as much as possible so that I can, because either way, I'm going to synchronize with something, whether it's somebody that has to have a baby around me, or it's actually going to be me, mechanically actually having a child myself. I know that I need to be prepared for everything. So that's, my daily focus is just to just stay completely, completely available in a sense. Like if life needs me to do some wiring, I can do that. I've enhanced myself in that way. If life needs me to do detoxing, I already know how to do that. I've enhanced myself in that way. Whatever it is, if somebody around me needs to have a birth, if somebody needs to build a shed, I'm of use to life. And so I'm of use to myself, and I'm just constantly learning. But, if I was to go against that, then the energy grid is just going to shift me, because we're in consciousness. The grid is the organic motherboard that we're living on is consciousness. So if I was to commit to unconscious behaviors and slothfulness all day, then I'm just going to synchronize with that. And it might not look exactly like me, like sometimes, like you run into people and you synchronize with them because the way that you judge yourself for judging them. Like when people are doing a certain thing that you don't agree with in your own personal life, you judge them, and then you judge yourself for having judged them, because like, damn man, I'm being hella judgy right now. So the mirror is there in so many different ways. There's so many different angles. A house of mirrors. So it's no point in, just sticking your head in the sand, because you're going to synchronize with a mirror one way or another, even if you put your head in the sand. It's going to be mirrors in the sand, or however you want to look at it, metaphorically. So it's that's pretty much where we are, man. And where I am, in a sense, where I just know better. Like if I'm going to breed with someone that's like me, somebody that's also RH negative, then I'm just going to create more slaves, more empty vessels. People, even if you're in a position of power, you're still a slave. You're a slave to your senses. You're a slave. You're just a high level slave. So like, you're creating from that stock. You have to, in order to withdraw something from the bank, has to be something in the bank. You can't just withdraw, like, if you have nothing in the bank. So like, if you have a dark colored dog, it can make any color puppy. If you have two white dogs, they can only make white dogs. Then and light colored dogs, they can't make dark colored dogs unless they breed with a dark colored dog. And me as a more closer to the apex creature than a dog, I have the wisdom or the sapience enough to know, because that's the difference. Since to be sentient is to be animal and have sensuality is animalistic. If you're controlled by your senses, somebody you just smell onions and you want to eat. You just see some titties and you want to fuck. Like I don't. That's being sensual. That's sensuality. Like that. That's not sapience. So I have enough sapience, enough wisdom to know that if anybody darker than me is coming to me and they want to breed with me, they have to have some type of mental disorder. To be totally real, like they'd have to have some type of trauma. Something is creating that to where they want to come to me, or all the other men on earth ain't shit, and that's really a sad circumstance. So I just feel like to breed under them circumstances, it's just not good for the psyche of the child, because it's not about me. It's like about the child and the way they're going to affect the world. It's about the world, and more than even the child. They're not separate from the world. So it's like, why would I do that? Why would I breed? Iron can't mix with clay. Like it says in, I believe it was Daniel. Iron doesn't mix with clay. And if you mix iron with clay, I mean, you can mingle for a minute, but it's not going to last. So it's just going against the consciousness to do that. I'm intercepting this woman that's supposed to be with her own. And so it's like musical chairs in a sense. It's like, if I have power over someone else, or if I take something that's not mine, then things are going to be taken from me that are mine, and people are going to have power over me. It's just the trend that happens. Like if you bully someone, you're going to get bullied. Like it's just what happens. If I intercept somebody else's experiences and I focus on trying to have someone else's experiences, then I don't have my own. And then a parasite lives in my body because I'm not myself, and the parasite's having the experiences anyway. So I'm a passenger at that point. And if I was to breed with someone like me, like I said, I'm creating more slaves. So it doesn't really make sense. So I know one way or another that this is going to unfold to where I'm going to be of usefulness for somebody, though, whether it be I randomly somehow, not randomly, if I synchronize with someone and I have my own child, not likely. But if I was, be in a circumstance where somebody around me in a community environment, they're not versed in natural child arrival, then I can be of usefulness. And then I can get through my own birth trauma vicariously through that, and through the process of just studying, because that's what I've seen, from even just looking inside myself. Like, I am irked, not by the gore, and people that don't know irked, I'm bothered. I'm bothered by child arrival, birth. It bothers me. Not by the gore of it, not by the placenta, not by none of that material stuff. Like none of that stuff bothers me, It's the intimacy. It's the most intimate thing you could do. And I don't want to share that with I don't want to bind myself with someone like that. Like, I'm just, my body is not even ready for that because it's so traumatized. As much as I'm conceptually like, oh, I know this is what happened to me. Somebody mutilated my genitals when I was born, and then they shot me up with garbage, dozens of shots or whatever, however many shots, and born in a hospital, all this type of stuff. As much as I acknowledge it in my mind or my brain, and I can like in a local consciousness level, say like, oh, okay, this is what happened, and I can think my way through that, being past that. My body's not past it though. My body, I can still see is not okay with it. Every time I see birth, I can see like I'm bothered by the intimacy of it. I can look at birth itself and watch births happen and say like, okay, this is the, she's going through contractions, the baby's coming and everything like that. All of that's happening. So that doesn't bother me. It's the fact that you have to really go through, when I put myself in that space and I'm really like, okay, I have to really go through 9 months with this person. I had to go through like probably 4 or 5 years of synchronizing with them, and then go through 9 months. That's so much intimacy. Then you're going to have the child itself, which is the most intimate moment of your life, because it's the greatest reminder of your own creation, your physical creation, however you want to look at it. So like, you have to be past that within yourself to even engage in that externally. You have to be okay with that. You have to be past that trauma in yourself. or you're just going to perpetuate trauma. You're going to be neglectful in a sense with the child or with the mother, however you look at it. It's going to be some neglect if you're neglecting yourself and you haven't really worked through that in your own body. And the only way I can see that happening is, for me, through the fasting process and just learning and studying the whole gestation process even more in depth, like to the T. Totally going through the whole midwifery course, totally going through it all, so that I can address that within myself and really get in touch with what a child is going through. Because I know it on a rudimentary level. I know the basics of it. I've studied it enough to where I know the basics of it, but I can study it more, just like I can study myself more. I can know myself more. So going through this process and like meticulously studying the gestation process and the birth process, what the baby's going through, what the mother's going through, everything leading up to it, conception. But prior to conception, all the trimesters, the 3 trimesters, all of that, going through all of that, then I can really see what I went through in the womb. I can really get back in touch with that, because now I'm actually studying that. I'm studying myself. It's not separation in that. If I study a woman having a child, I'm studying myself. There's no separation in anything from anything, and everything segues into the next thing. So it's the only thing I can see me getting through the whole process. I think I need to fast, another extensive fast, like another 100 days on coconut water or something like that. Something extensive like I did, maybe less, because it's funny how you project like that, and you go through the cycles, how life spirals either up or down, destructively or constructively. It's like you go through a fast and you go through miserable stages in the fast. So then when you spiral back and you start making those decisions again, when you go into a fast smoothly, you just made all the right decisions, correct decisions, until you reach that point to where your body's just fasting and you're not trying to fast. It's just happening and you're not thinking about it. You're just living and reading and writing and expressing yourself and being of usefulness. And then you look up like, man, I ain't eat all day, whatever. I'm going to take it down. I'll go to sleep or rest or recharge, whatever, so that I can get back in touch with my dreams. And then you get deeper and deeper into that, and you get so close to yourself that you don't want to get further away from, you don't want to create separation in your body. Like eating, when you eat, you're creating separation between your organs, separation in your liver. Once it reaches the bowels, the bowels don't touch no more. They're separating. So your consciousness, you're experiencing separation. There's something between you and you at that point. So I know that I need to go through that fasting process and then see what my point of attraction is then, so that I can, go from there. And it's funny because, I know that it comes back around. It's like inevitable once you set that course. And I remember the last time I had extensive fast like that, it was just brutal at different points, because, you reach highs and you're like, this is great, I'm never coming down. And then you hit those points where you're just like, man, this is the emotional stage of it. I'm not even thinking about food, but this is all emotional and psychological or metaphysical, whatever. And now I'm just going through this end of it, and I realize how much I distract with food, the acquiring of food, the preparation of food, or what have you. The whole process of food is this massive distraction on most occasions. So the more that I fast, the more that I saw that, and the deeper the fast went, the more that I see, like, I'm just running from the traumas. So now I'm at this stage in my life where I realize, I go through another fast again and get through enough days of it, I'm going to get back to really experiencing that birth trauma again. And then I'll be able to work through it. I have to address it. I have to really fully address it, because everything I'm doing is stemming from that. I was neglected in the process of being born. So I neglect myself. So now I have sex with people that I shouldn't have sex with, because I'm trying to fill a void. My emotional unattractiveness, emotional ugliness, I'm trying to fill with being sexually desirable. And it's just never going to fill the void. It's just euphoria, and then a crash. Then my body feels like it got pimped. It feels like a slut, feels like a hoe. And then it's just like a pimp hoe relationship with my own body. So I need to get back into the fasting so I can get back in touch with my body, my physical self, fully, to where I can reach a different point of attraction or a different point of realization. Attraction is more so kind of like realization. It's realizing what's for you. People say manifestation, but I realized that it's mine. This is what's for me. It was always here. I was just getting in the way of myself, my false self, identifying with this shield, because that's really what it is. It's this, you get mutilated or vaccinated or neglected as a child, and then there's this shield, which is persona. It comes in and it's shielding your essence from the outside world. You feel like you have to protect yourself, so you protect it with persona, this temporary illusion that is just like a metaphysical shield. Then you just abuse it, and then you get to a point where yourself really doesn't have access to your body. It's like an autoimmune response. Now you're attacking yourself. Whenever the self comes and you're yourself, that's when you want to get high. That's when you want to eat food. That's when you want to have sex. That's when you want to do all the things that push you further from yourself. Because now your body is now the signal that the self is not okay, because the self is synonymous with vulnerability and being hurt. So that's the whole thing, just to get past that, to undo the false self enough, to get back in touch with the body enough to where I can really fully experience the birth trauma again, to where I can have a different perspective. I'm not going to act like I know, because I haven't fully experienced it. I experienced it in an unconscious way. When you go through the fasting or any abstaining, you're going to go through that period where it's just all emotional and it's just irrational pain, because that's what it is. Anger, anxiety, depression, it's just irrational pain that is unconscious. You don't really know. Like, it's pain that you don't even know how to process. So it's just happening. You just think like, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm angry, whatever. All of that is just deeply embedded fear. Coming out, fear in the lungs is depression, fear in the liver is anger, fear in the kidneys and bladder is anxiety. So you have all this fear lodged in the body. So when you're going through the detox process, you're going to have a bunch of unconscious fear, unconscious pain that comes out as anger and anxiety and depression. And then it becomes conscious. The iceberg, you start to see, the tip of the iceberg starts to peak up, and then you get to the bottom of it. You can really see like, oh, this is what this is all stemming from. And everything is stemming from, again, birth, life and death. Whether somebody got killed or somebody got born unconsciously, that's determining pretty much all their behaviors and all the behaviors of people around them. If you have a baby, then your mom's going to act different. Your brother or sister's going to act different. People act different. It might be small, but they change, because at birth and death is what really determines the way people behave. So getting into that phase of fasting, deep fast, it's like a checklist. Your body is going through the checklist. It's like, okay, I got to get through all this emotional garbage. I got to get through all this other healing. Then we go through the deep tissue, the organ healing and everything like that. And then now, we're getting into more specific things. The checklist is now getting checked off. People always ask me, like, can I regenerate teeth? I'm like, yeah, but you're going to have to regenerate your liver, your lungs, your kidneys. All of that's going to have to come first, because your teeth, yourself is kind of protecting you from eating the garbage. So you're losing your teeth or whatever it is, or you're lying, you're not walking what you're talking. So you're losing your teeth. So your body, yourself is trying to take away your ability to eat or to talk, so that you can stop hurting yourself, so that you can realize the truth, and then you can regenerate. So once you start fasting and cleansing, and you're going to cleanse your organs out first, and then you're going to come from the core out. And then the same thing with the emotional shit. You're going to get to the bottom of it. You have to get through that whole physical, mechanical cleansing, and then it's just going to be emotional and irrational pain. And then it's going to be, okay, this is logically what happened. This is what happened. This was simple math. This event caused this. It's cause and effect. It's not like anything I had to hope about or wish about. This caused this, caused this, caused this. And it'd be clear as day. And I saw the checklist. Last time I got deep into a fast, with having no fiber for months at a time, and just having water, coconut water, green juices, I saw the checklist, and then you can get discouraged. But it's just all projection. You're trying to get to the end. You got to really process A to Z. You can't focus on Z. So, like, I had the different things I had to process. I had to get perspective on things that I did wrong to people and life itself, to myself, things that were done wrong to me. I had to get different perspective on it. And I had to step outside of the trauma. I had to step outside of the identity, and the fasting allowed that to happen. Because the organs and everything are all clenched up. The body's all tense. There's so much tension and fear lodged in the body. So once you fast, your body starts to relax more and more. It's relaxing more and more. And then you're more yourself. Then the breath flows through. All the cells are relaxing because they're communicating. When you have communication, clear communication, your body can relax. When you have clear communication in the household, you can have relaxation. You can have contentment. It's probably a better word than relaxation. So it's all about the communication within yourself. And then it bleeds into the world. There's no separation there. So like, I saw that, the checklist. Like, oh man, I got to do this. I got to process this now. Myself won't even let me sleep because I'm processing my organs. I got to wake up. You got to look at the organ clock. Google TCM organ clock. I would wake up at the hours of the liver detox, and my body would just be like, all right, it's time to do breath work. 2 a.m., liver and gallbladder. You got to do breath work. And I'd be like, yo, I don't even want to do this right now. But it's not even, I've already committed. I made all the correct decisions to where this just was happening. And the collective is just, this is happening. It's not something that I have to think about. It's just happening. So like, now I'm being shown, like a dog when it shits in the house, you show the dog his shit. I'm being shown that by myself through my body. So that whole process was happening. I'm like, oh my God, it feels exhausting. But really it's liberating. You just have to endure. It's all about endurance. It's all about the attrition. So that I saw that, and I just like, you go through this, you go through that, you go through this next trauma and this next trauma, this next trauma. And then you're just taking on so much. If you have so many traumas, you're just like processing so much that I know a lot of people will just run away. They'll say this is no longer my lifestyle. I'm going away from this now, because it's an arduous process, because it's like a compaction of all the lifetimes. You're constantly going through all the same memories. Whatever memories you haven't fully been present for, you're just going to keep looping and doing the same ones over and over again. And if you die like that, then you just repeat the same memories. And everybody else that didn't acknowledge their memories and stay present, they're all going to cycle with you, and you all meet each other again and do the same bullshit. So it's better to just realize it, accept the memories, see them for what they are, instead of what you think they are, the projection and all the emotional knots that you have that are tied to it. Once you get past that, then you can get to the next thing. But, I guess, I took on a lot at once. Maybe I'm too extreme like that. Now I feel like I'm a lot more steady. To where my life it's more of a lifestyle than something I'm trying to do or be. It's what I am. It's what it's like a re-arrival. It's rebirth, or however you want to look at it. It's realization. Like the more that you realize yourself, the more real you are. The more you realize eternity. There's no separation, and that's what you are. You are eternity. So I was doing a lot at once. So then you reach a point where I reached a point where I was like, man, I'm so sick of this. I want to just not feel. And I'm reaching greater points of attraction. So now I'm getting tempted with things. Now I'm getting offers to go to other countries and coach or play and do things that I know what comes with them. I know the things that come with that. It's a package deal. If I go to another country and I do certain things that force me to identify with a false identity, it's a package deal. The things that come with that false identity, they're coming with it. It's not like I can just eat around that and just be this false identity a little bit. It comes with that. As soon as I'm stepping into the false self and going to being like, yeah, I'm a football player, I'm a football coach or whatever, that just grows and grows in my life. It's more false identity. And it's exhausting. It's draining my life force. So then I have to eat more food to feed the false identity. And, then I'm creating the external parasites because I'm creating the internal parasites. Now I'm around a bunch of people that aren't themselves, and we all condone the behavior. And it just snowballs, and then you get further away from yourself. You look up, it's been years. And so that's what happened to me, where I was like, man, now I'm at this point of attraction where I have kind of the world at my fingertips. But it's for my, a lot of it is for the false self. It wasn't for the true self. It's like I'm going through the phases and I'm regenerating. So now I'm back to 17-year-old, 18-year-old me who's a football player. That was his identity. He was distant from himself in a sense, but the energy was youthful. The body was in good shape. So it has a different point of attraction, has a different capability. So the energy grid is shifting. Like, okay, this is what you can do this. You can fit in the slot if you want to do this. And I did that enough times. And you can look at it, fit in the slot with the wrong person sexually too. So I did that enough times now. I feel like I played the whole hokey pokey, the whole musical chairs thing enough times now. And I stayed present enough through it. I could have definitely been better. But I feel like now I just know the answers to the tests. It's like if you fail senior year, you got to go through senior year again. But like, okay, this is algebra 4 or whatever it is. I know the answers to this test. I took this test last year. So then you go through it, you do the correct answers, and then you continue to progress and move forward. And then it's growth. It's actually true growth. And then you don't just loop and stay in them same parasitic loops. That's what infinity is. It's a loop. It's an 8. So, you're being eaten. So, it's a different process, than a lot of people are accustomed to. Maybe some of the people listening to this, but I feel like a lot of the people that listen to this know about fasting. They've been acquainted with it. But once you make it your lifestyle, you're going to get in touch with your traumas. And then you realize all the physical things you do are to block the traumas, the recall, and block the dreams. Everything people do is to block their dreams, because that's where the dream comes from, the word drum or traum, and that's trauma. So you address your traumas in your dreams because you're not addressing them consciously while you're awake. So it's all you're being separated. It's all being compartmentalized. Your traumas are here, stuffed away in your dreams, and then you're also stuffing away your true dreams and your true life and your life you dream of, you truly dream of. You're stuffing that away as you stuff the traumas away. It's all a package deal. So I reached that point now to where I feel like I can, steadily get through this. And once I reach this different point of attraction, that's really the true point of attraction, which is I'm attracting myself, then I'll connect with self further within and then without, and then I'll go from there. And then if it's somebody that I can truly fast with, and then I can stay present with them and stay present with them sexually, because I can have sex with people, not anymore, but I've had sex with people where I was not present. My body's just on. I'm not really there. I just know where my body, on a carnal level, sensual level, not a sapient level, I know what could get my body going centrally. So I can just press those buttons like a computer and then make it run the program. And then I'm detached while the body does this thing. But it's a trauma. It's not even separate from the initial trauma of childbirth. It's an extension of that trauma, just being amplified now. Now it's just spilling more and more into the world. There's no separation. So that's where I know I am, where life gives you what you're prepared for. Soon as you're prepared for it too, you don't have to think about it or wonder. Soon as you're ready for something, it just happens. You're never ready. You can prepare, and then life just, soon as it happens, it just clicks, and now you're doing this next thing, and you're being challenged in this next way because you're prepared for it. You just need to consciously know that you're prepared for it. There's certain things that you have innately buried in you, knowledge and stuff, that you have to remind yourself of, and then it's there. So, and it just comes all at once, and now it's just like an avalanche. Like, okay, now I'm being challenged as Johnny on the spot. But if you were to prepare consciously and actively, daily, every day, then you'll be able to meet those things head on. Like, this is coming. I can feel it in my body. I can feel this next challenge coming, and it's coming in this way. So I know what to do to prepare, like a squirrel preparing for winter or whatever. It's like you just know what to do. And that's really it, man. I guess that's about it. Like, it's all about just not being wasteful. And the more that you cleanse the body, the more that you get out of each breath. You metabolize more out of each breath. Your breaths are not being wasted. You're fully expanding. They're not shallow breaths. Those are wasteful breaths. Then you live a shallow life, and you have sex with people for shallow reasons. So it's not full. When you're breathing fully, you're living fully. So and just because you breathe fast when you run or whatever, doesn't mean you have to breathe shallow. You can breathe fully that way too. So it's all about not wasting. And the more that you waste your breaths, the more that you're going to be wasteful, and then you synchronize with other wasteful people, and then you become wasted. Then you die. You experience death. You don't experience everlasting life or immortality in a way that your human persona or perspective can't even really fathom. You don't experience that because you're wasted. So you become like Pharaoh said, the metaphor would be like, if you look at it like something that you want to recycle, you put it in a recycling bin. Something that you want to throw up, burn up, dispose of, you throw it in the trash. But something that is of usefulness, you recycle. And you use it again, you repurpose it into another thing. Or maybe it is a better thing. And then when that's over, then you recycle it maybe into a better thing. So that's more so the process instead of being wasted and being wasteful. So the more that I stop the distractions, the more that I'm stopping the investment of my breath into distraction, because I'm allotted a certain amount of breaths, and myself knows it, the amount of breaths that I have. And it's like, if I'm bullshitting, then myself knows, like, you bullshitting, you're going to waste all these breaths. I'm just going to destroy this body so we can move on to the next thing. And so you rather just meet yourself head on, meet the challenges head on, use your breath consciously to learn, constantly learn, and not waste the breath, so that you can be prepared for whatever comes your way and meet yourself consciously. So you're like, all right, I know where my physical self is. My body's at this point of attraction, this point of realization. This is the logical next thing that's going to happen, because I'm on this energy grid that is conscious of what it's aware of what I'm aware of. And it's aware of everything else that everybody else is aware of. It's awareness. We're in awareness. So it's going to shift based on my awareness. So if I make myself consciously aware of the gestation process, the whole natural birth or natural arrival, child arrival process, life knows that I know it. So then it's going to bring the experience to me. One way or another, it's going to come to me, this experience. If you was to, do anything like that, you learn anything, you're just becoming literate in a thing. If you become literate in geometry, then you start to see it in life, geometry around you. You now geometry literate. Now you can perceive life through that literacy. So, now the challenges are already happening. Yourself is the one that's challenging you. So now you accepting the challenges. Like, okay, now you know numerology. Now you see the numerology on receipts or whatever it is. Now you're accepting it. You're not just ignoring things. You're accepting the challenge of, like, nothing is just face value. It's a holistic approach to everything. And the metaphysical is creating the physical. So something immaterial manifested this physical thing, whether it's a license plate or whatever I'm looking at, just for example, so I'm literate in numerology. I'm literate in algebra. I'm literate in physics. I'm literate in this. I'm literate in childbirth. I'm literate in agriculture. Then you start to challenge yourself. You're like, I know I can do this. Why would I let someone else do this for me? Why would I let someone else have my baby for me? Why would I let someone else grow my food? Why would I let someone else build my house? It'll be way more satisfying to live in a house that I built. Why would I want to let somebody else fix my car? I know if somebody else made the car, they were a person just like me. I can fix it too. So why would I leave that up to them? And the more that you don't leave that up, the more that you're making the ends meet in your life. Like, you're producing your food, you're consuming your food, then you dispose of your food because you know how to make a septic tank. You know how to install a septic tank. So now you're doing the complete spectrum, the whole thing from seed to table to septic. you're doing the whole process from you know, seed is fertilizer in a sense. You are fertilizing. So the whole process from fertilizer back to fertilizer, the whole thing, you're making the ends meet. You're not, there's no gaps. You're drawing your own water or whatever it is. You're going through the whole process of reading, charting the stars yourself, so that you can read your own astronomy and astrology. You don't. So the less that you need the external things, the more that you're yourself. The more that you need middlemen, the more that you're having a middleman between you and yourself. Like they say, the word pastor comes from like the same as the word pasture, something that leads a flock. It's like a middleman that you have between you and yourself. It's like the same thing. You have a grocery store. It's a middleman. You have a doctor that's now having your son or your daughter for you. It's a middleman. You don't need, that's a parasite. You don't need that. You don't need that. The only way you would need some things like that is trauma, blunt trauma. You need a doctor if you crash your car and you lose your leg. But there's a lot of small things that led up to you crashing the car that you were ignoring. It was nothing just happens. You know, like you say, it happens in your dreams fast, then it happens slowly here. So you're just ignoring your dreams. You're just blocking the dreams because you're blocking the trauma, stuffing it, stuffing yourself, blocking yourself, but you're never separate from yourself. Yourself is always there. So when the cycle comes back around, yourself is like going to refute you, like, you're a goddamn liar or whatever it is, So yourself is going to tell you, and then you're like, whatever, I don't want to hear this. So I'm going to get high, or I'm going to drink, or I'm going to eat alcohol, which is just most of the food is today, So all of that is blocking the self. And when you're in the dream or trance state, you're really getting untethered self. You're getting unadulterated self in a sense, where you're getting pure communication, or you should. But the more that you're distracting yourself, you could be learning a language a little bit every day or studying etymology at the bare minimum every day, a little bit, to where you know exactly what you say to yourself and what you say to other people. You know the root of the words and how to conjugate words and how the words were put together initially, so that you can, when you dream, you have clear communication. You're speaking in a young language and thinking in a young language like English, Anglo-lish, angel-lish, demon-lish, fallen angel-lish. You're just thinking in that, then you're going into your dreams thinking from that. But if you know Latin, or Hebrew, or metanetter, anything without vowels especially is even better. It's less middleman. It's more direct. So you have direct communication with yourself. So you're going into the dream, and then the dream is less cryptic, and you're like, all right, myself communicated this to me. There's no discrepancy. I know what the mission is, my transmission. I went to the trance consciously. I already know that. I don't need to be told. I'm communicating with myself enough. So when you study things, you're just studying yourself. Study agriculture, you're studying seed, soil like the woman, seed like the masculine. Everything you're studying is studying yourself. So it's a reminder. It's what was lost, and then you have to be reminded, because the trauma created amnesia over lifetimes. You forget. But if you start to read these books or communicate with people that are aware of these things, then they're just reminding you. You can't teach something to somebody that isn't teaching themselves. It's like they have to make themselves literate to a degree to where they can expose themselves to another level of literacy in a certain particular field, to where they can gain more literacy, and then they can go to the next level, next challenge. So you can't teach someone that doesn't want to teach themselves, because everyone is teaching themselves. And even the teacher is just teaching themselves how to teach. They're learning how to teach as they teach. So it's constantly teaching yourself, learning yourself. So you don't want to have an abundance of middlemen in your life. You want to have more intimate, more close. You want to be close to your farmer if you have a farmer that's giving you food. You want to be closer to these things, close to where you can learn from them, actually see what they're doing, to where there's not all this Wizard of Oz shit, where the wizard's just behind this thing, projecting as a huge controller, and then you're just accepting it. But then you go behind the door and you realize like this is what you've been doing the whole time behind her. It's the same thing. Same thing with everything. And that's kind of what it is. The false self, the parasite in you is like that Wizard of Oz. It's like the wizard that's projecting that it's so big and so controlling. But you get past that and you go back to the traumas that manifested that thing, then you realize, wow, this is a very small thing. And then you can have the compassion for yourself, the empathy for yourself, and have the different perspective, compassion and empathy for other people. But if you're just having carnal sex and you just you're just raping your body, and then you're creating from a controlled rape situation, and then your body don't really trust you, so you don't even get access. You're not even getting access to the dreams like you could. You don't even get access to yourself. It's like you don't even get the VIP section of yourself at that point. Like you're down here in this like pleb. You're at the pleb level. You're at this serfdom level of yourself. Yourself's not even letting you in the VIP. Like you can't come in the kingdom. You don't even know how to act yet. So I can't even let you inhabit your potential. So I have to keep your consciousness at this level in the body. Because if I was to just give this to you all at once, you destroy shit. Because you don't know how to behave. So that's pretty much where I am. You know, where I'm remembering how to behave. How to be. Instead of forcing things. So I don't know when I'm going to do another podcast with Pharaoh. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when that will happen. I don't know if there ever will be another one. So you guys should contact him, pharaohshouse.com, or at Pharaoh's House on Instagram, or Ahaya Kanak on Facebook. Ahaya, Ahaya Kanak, Kanak on Facebook. Ahaya Kanak on Facebook, at Pharaoh's House on Instagram, pharaohshouse.com. I don't know when we're going to do another one or if we ever will, so you guys should contact him directly. So I'm done ranting, and you guys can, I guess, ask questions now. I'm going to throw this thing up on YouTube because, like I said, I'm banned on Facebook, and you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram for now. But it's nice, like I said, man. Being banned is nice because it's like a Facebook detox. I don't have to even look at. I don't have the app. I don't fuck with the app, but I don't even have to go, into the site anymore, into the parallel site. And shit, if you're using the app, man, you guys got to understand too, man. The app has a different level of radiation. Same thing with YouTube. Same thing with Instagram. All these apps, man. That's why I don't like lives. That's why I don't. Just in general, as soon as you open the app, the uptick on radiation just goes up, because the AI, it demands that, because it's basically just watching you in real time. Whereas if you go to like a basic bitch site, like if you go to Google, you're gonna have a AI. You're just interfacing with AI. But if you go to like, I don't know, like naturalnews.com or something, I don't know. It's not always AI that's concerned with what you're doing. So you're not getting radiated the same. It's not synchronizing with your spirit, with your breath. So that's how the thoughts are manipulated. That's how the thoughts are not private at this point too. Because again, we're in an energy grid, a field. And if you treat your body a certain way, then you exist in a certain part of the field. And then there's only certain thoughts available to you. And the grid knows when certain thoughts have been available to you. And the artificial grid is laid down over top of it. So it's monitoring the natural grid. So it knows as well when you've been exposed to certain thoughts. And yeah, that's pretty much where we are. And so that's where you should operate your life in truth. So it doesn't matter what they've monitored. You're living in truth. You're not living a lie. So you can live and pass on with your thoughts that you are harboring or flowing through you, your emotions flowing through you. Because anger, anxiety, depression, not really emotions. Like that's like toxic. That's disease. Anger is disease. Anxiety is disease. Depression is disease. Emotion is like gratitude. That's like real emotion, But so it's like kind of fucked up. It's like a misnomer to even call it an emotion. It's like people say like you're in your feelings. I'm like, something's not being felt. Something's being blocked, and that's why this is happening. This expression of anger or sadness, they're not in their feelings. The feelings are being blocked. So you have like a short circuiting. So like a heating up in some area. Somewhere, some area of the body is heating up and burning up because the energy can't flow through. So they're not in their feelings in a sense. They're separated, compartmentalized from them. There's separation between thought and feeling. It's not all happening at once. So it's just so much separation in the system. So it's so many misnomers in this language, especially in English. But if you guys want to ask questions, I'll hang out for like another 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll go into the questions. If you ask them, I'll answer them. But if I don't get any questions in like the next, 240 seconds, then I'm out of here. So let's see what else. Yep. So I guess that's it. It don't look like I'm about to ask no questions. So let me see. Oh no, here we go. It says, why are you a good being despite being RH negative? RH negative is a empty vessel in a sense. So it's soulless, it's lunar, it's not solar. It's just a lunar vessel. So I was raised around Aboriginals. My mother is part Aboriginal, and so part of it is in me. So some of that presence is within me, and I had a lot of that presence around me because that's who raised me. Because my father's family was all super racist. Not, I don't want to say all of them because I don't know all of them. But the fact that I don't know them leads me to believe that. So there's a partition there basically, to where I don't even know my dad's dad. I met him twice in my life, and it was so awkward. The first time I met him, he shook my hand like a stranger, and we didn't talk. And then the second time I met him, I was with my ex-wife, and she's black. She's O negative too. It's funny. She's black and Puerto Rican, and the Puerto Rican is that Sephardic. That's where the O negative is coming from. What's her name? She not the original Puerto Ricans though, but she what's her name? She was around me. I went to my dad's cousin's farm, and I met this dude, and he just totally ignored me. So that's pretty much like to let you know the family that my father's family, what they come from, or they're not all like that. Like my dad's cousin, he don't ignore me, he'll acknowledge me. I could come to the farm and jog or whatever. He'll never sell me some land or nothing though. So it's like, they trust me as far as they can throw me, I guess. But I've met like a handful of them in passing. I don't know them though. I've never had experiences with them. I never went and did anything with them. It's just like, hey, oh yeah, that's your name? Oh, what's up? So I didn't know them. All I knew was Aboriginals and Moors and people like that my whole life. So that's who raised me. I knew pale people too. I went to school with some pale people, of course. But I was predominantly my grandmother, my uncle, my aunts, my mom's stepfather, because she don't know her dad, because my grandma was a prostitute. So she was forced into it. So like my mom, all her brothers and sisters is dark skinned. All my cousins is brown or dark skinned. All my uncles and aunts is brown or dark skinned. These are the people that raised me. So that's why I'm this expression. If I was RH negative and I was around other people that was RH negative and that were more so abominations and didn't never have them codes in them, then my open empty vessel would have been easily manipulated and would have had a different life. But since I have something else in me and I was exposed to it externally to where it could bring it out, I was able to realize myself more, because I still have a self. I'm just not solar. I still have a self though. So, they say a fallen angel, a deity of the moon, a daemon, still an angelic or a celestial being. So I still have a self. And as long as I'm true to my true self, I'm true to the truest self, the one that is one with all. So my relationship with myself is determining my relationship with the one that's one with all. And I've realized that, and different things happened in my life where I stepped away from that and I was immediately smited and punished shortly thereafter. So I realized my path is very narrow, so I can't play around. Whereas maybe somebody else didn't have that contrast. So that's why I am the way I am. Um, how do we stop male genital mutilation? You gotta just spread the awareness. Have children that are intact, that aren't mutilated, or tell your brothers and sisters about this, and women that you meet, everybody, and impart that wisdom on them, so that when the people do come into this earth and they're intact and they aren't mutilated, they have a totally different resonance and expression, so that people can appreciate it and they say, like, oh, that's the way life's supposed to be, or a person's supposed to be, more so. So I'm gonna go more into that in respect to that, and just let it blossom from there. What are your thoughts on music? I make music, but the higher levels of the industry, it gets weird. You know what I mean? Um, I feel like music, it's like a bird. Birds don't like try to get record deals or try to get streaming deals. They just sing because it's something that is just in them to do. So if it's something that you feel like they're just in alignment, so they sing, they're harmonizing because they're in alignment. So if you're in alignment with yourself and it's your true self, and it's not some other voice, like, this is why you need to get in touch with your voice. And when you listen back to the music, you could tell, like, that's not myself, that's my influences. That's myself for 3 bars, that's influence. Now this is myself again over here for 4 bars. Then you know your voice. But you got to fast and cleanse and get in touch with your breath to get in touch with your voice, so you can speak with your whole body, so that you're not lying. The more as you speak through the false filter, then you're more lying, and you're not yourself. You're not in alignment. So then, your music is going to be sickening. And the process of creating is what it's about. It's not about the profit. It's about being present with the process. The creator experiences itself through creation. So the profit that you get is the experience. Because everything in the material world will take equally as much as it gave. So that's going to happen. That dance is going to happen. The inhale, exhale dance of life, the giving and taking, that's going to happen. But what experiences are you really having? That's how you profit. So if it's bringing new experiences, you got to go with it. All right. What do you think of smoking weed and doing breath work? I find breath work, doing breath work high is easier to do. Yeah, you're forcing your body in the parasympathetic nervous system. You're forcing it to relax. So you're basically stunning your body and raping it, in a sense. You're raping it to force it into a system instead of going into that system more gently and then experiencing it organically from the inside out instead of from the outside in. Because, again, it's not the weed that made you high, it's the endorphins that you're experiencing and the detox. So when you intoxicate, the high is your body responding to the toxins. The toxins don't make you feel good. Your body's releasing endorphins to numb you and to process the garbage. And that is what you call a high. You're experiencing your body. That's what you're enjoying. So you need to stop raping your body and forcing yourself to the surface with the substance. So stand in yourself. Don't fall in love, stand in it. So, like, the less that you do bring yourself to the surface and relax your body vicariously through external means, the more that you're going to just be yourself. And then you won't feel the need to go out of the moment to experience the moment. Because that's kind of what's happening when you get high. You're going away to try to experience it from a false self perspective so that you can block out the pain. But it's like taking a step back so that you can take a step forward, and then you're like, oh, now I'm doing the breath work while I'm high. I just did the breath work to counter the smoking or getting high. So now I feel this illusory step forward, but it's not a step forward. You're on a treadmill. What are your thoughts on Polaris and the Soul Stream, aka the Aurora Borealis? They say that's the way out of this matrix. I mean, the way out is the way in, man. You have to go deeper within yourself, I'm always going to look at it that way. I'm not going to look at it like it's something that you physically have to do. Even if it is something that you physically have to do, you'd have to do it internally first Because if you say I'm gonna get up and walk across the room, you think it's like a thought. It manifests, and even if it's a split second, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get up and go over there and pick that up. It happens inside first, then it happens outside. So you want to connect with, the core of the universe within the core of yourself, and then if it's supposed to physically happen in that way that you're conceptualizing, then so be it. But the outside in is always going to be redundant. If you ejaculate, do you consume your seed? I know people who promote this, and I have done it before. Even after sex, I'll still eat it from inside her. It's extremely wasteful. You're being driven to ejaculate if you're not creating a baby. That's not your true will. As soon as you ejaculate, beings that are subtle beings or metaphysical, however you want to disembody, they're in the air. They're absorbing all that energy. As soon as you release it from inside of you to the out, that nectar, that sap, as soon as you release that, is now available to be eaten. And then you have parasites inside of you. They have parasites inside of them. Only way that you would do this is if you was possessed. So you have parasites inside of you that want you to swallow the sperm so that they can eat it. And then also inside of her. So she has parasites she's harboring. It's not even, I shouldn't even say parasites. It's really kind of just our common enemy. The one parasite that's inhabiting most of the bodies, pretty much all of them. So like, it's one parasite working through both of you to rape you both and synchronize you both under perverted circumstances so that you have this false sense of security around this euphoria, which is going to be tied to some carnal act that is tied to covering up some emotional trauma or physical trauma, same thing kind of. So you're engaging in a carnal act because you want to experience the euphoria so that you don't experience yourself, because yourself is going to rebuke your behaviors. So the more that you do stuff like that, the further you get from yourself, and then you never get rebuked. So that's the point of it. All right. Let me see if there's any more questions. What do you think of wisdom tooth removal? Look at the meridians, the TCM meridians. You're just destroying the meridians in a lot of respects. People's mouths need tooth removal or dental work because they eat inflammatory foods. And they ate inflammatory foods as their body was developing, so their mouth was inflamed. It was swollen. So there's crowding in the mouth because of the inflamed food. So you're now crowding in your teeth, and then it swells and there's pressure on the teeth and it hurts. So then you pull the tooth. It's all stemming from inflammation. Could you expand on forcing breath sessions at specific hours versus doing the sessions when the whole body feels like it? I would say get in touch with the circadian rhythm. That's kind of like the default. Get in touch with the circadian rhythm. Look at the TCM organ clock so you can see what organ's doing what, and then pay attention, throughout a bunch of days so you can see when you behave certain ways, and then you can see your triggers and when you crave certain things. And then you're going to have to apply some will at some level. It's like you're the president, everybody might want to do this, or the Congress might want to do something, but you got the veto power, so you gotta make executive decisions at some level to say like, all right, logically, I know what's the next best thing to do here. And breath work makes sense right now. And it just makes sense as a whole. Do you channel your sexual energy into anything specific during periods of abstinence? Just learning. Just learn as much about yourself as possible. I'm constantly circulating the energy and never letting it get stale, because that's when parasites can eat you up, when you're not circulating, when the energy's not flowing through you. So it's constant. You never, there's no breaths off really. So the more that you learn, if you read a book, you're sitting there reading a book and then you start to like slack off and you're not paying attention, you just miss the breath. So the more that you read and then you're like, oh, I'm not paying attention, or oh, I'm getting fidgety, you're just not breathing. So the more that you do that, then the more you realize you can breathe in rhythm with the reading. Same thing if you're painting. As soon as you start to force it, you want to finish the project. You're missing breaths. So, serious question. So, what are Mexicans related to being AB original, Mex raised in California? A lot of Mexicans is Mongols. A lot of some of them bred with the Aboriginals that was here though. So you look at some Mexicans have the kinky hair. Some Mexicans, you can look at realhistoryww.com. Realhistoryww.com. I don't agree with everything on the site, but most of it I do. They got pictures of all the different people of the originals of every type of person. Whether you say I'm white, I'm this, I'm that. There's a dark version of you, and there's a picture of that version on realhistoryww.com. So they have a section that's for Latin Americans and for Mexico specifically as well. You should check that out. What was the verdict on sleeping with a vaxxed woman? I mean, I think it was obvious. Don't do it. You would never want to do that. You would if this is the last woman on earth or something, I still wouldn't do it. But if it's the last woman on earth and you're doing that, read the Abra Melon book and look into the Abra Melon process. It's like an 18-month process. That's like your best bet. Go through that process, and if she's still around after that, then you can think if you want to merge with her that way. Resources for learning etymology and how to talk to ourselves, please. The first book of etymology by Thomas Lynn. Ah, man. There's another etymology book. It's by this guy named Isidore. Forget his name. I'll link it in the bottom. But yeah, just look up etymology books. But the first book of etymology by Thomas Lynn is great. How do we stop male genital mutilation? So I already answered that. Not sure my question went through. Got knocked out as live, but I hit send. What are your thoughts on melanin? I got a lot of thoughts. Let's be specific, man. Neuromelanin, pheomelanin, eumelanin. It's broad. It's a broad question. Tay, could you speak on... Oh, no, that one already too. Isn't identifying with any identity going to create more of it? Why do you choose to identify with the RH negative thing? Is you got to look at it like what I am is not who I am. Or you could say who I am is not what I am. So you say like what I am is an eternal being. Who I am is a man. Or what I am is a man and who I am is an eternal being. What have you, however you want to look at it. But if you're a woman, that's what you are. You have to accept what you are so that you can move on from that experience. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm not a woman because I'm just not a woman because I don't acknowledge it. It is what it is. Then you can move from that experience once you fully experience it. As trauma comes up as anxiety or fear, what's the first conscious response you have? Thoughts or breath? I mean, thoughts are just going to happen. I mean, the breath is going to dictate the pace of the thoughts and the depth of the thoughts, depending on the depth of the breath. But thoughts are just going to happen. So sometimes I go to stretching. Sometimes I have a glass of water. Sometimes I do breath work. I have a whole contingency operation, a bunch of triggers that I have responses to that don't take me far away from the moment. To where I can still stay there, but I don't want to run into something else, like, I don't know, herbs even or something like that. I want to keep it as clear as possible. Water, breath, stretching for circulation, things like that will be my initial responses after accepting the feeling. Because you're feeling something, and then you think about what you feel, and then you have an attachment to what you think about what you feel. That's not what you're feeling. What you're feeling is what you're feeling. You want to process that. So you want to breathe to stoke that processing. If you synced up with Pharaoh and share the same values, why are you two not investing in land and kickstart a true holistic community? You have to talk to Pharaoh about that, man. I can't really speak about Pharaoh and his plans without him here. It kind of is not something I can really talk about. As far as me, like, it's a delicate situation. I have to learn more. I can't have people coming into my close radius while I'm still in this process of learning certain things, because it's just like you don't buy food that you don't want to eat. You don't bring people around if you don't know how to treat people. If you don't know how to treat yourself. So I need to go through that process of being with myself and learning certain things. And then I meet people in passing, and then I can have people more around more often and closer for more intimate uh, uh, experiences and more length of time. But I'm not going to just bring people around while I still house uh, this trauma, and these trauma responses are still here in a sense. So no one in family got vision problems, but I have keratoconus, where my cornea has bulged out. Why is this inflammation? Possibly, man. I mean, you never know what your mom could have did, the trauma she could have experienced during gestation. Different trimesters, if you have trauma at different ones, you get different outcomes, different disease is going to happen. Or maybe you're just blinding yourself to something, and metaphysically, now you physically have this, and that's what you did last life, and now you have the physical remnant of it. It's kind of a loaded question. Taylor, could you speak on forcing breaths? Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's see. Do you have any tips on fasting while still going to work and handling responsibilities? Thank you. Salutations. Anyway, when it comes to work, you shouldn't want to have a boss. Whoever pays you is your boss. If you pay someone, you're their boss at that moment. And so you don't want to have a boss. You want to pay yourself. And you don't want to work for someone when you want to work with people. It's really different. So whatever you can do to gradually work for yourself. And breath work is, you got to make space for breath work. Then breath work is going to make space for other things, other practices, to where you can enhance yourself, make yourself more valuable. And you trade those experiences for money or energy, for sustenance, whatever, so that you can trade that energy to create more experiences. So you make yourself more valuable, trade those experiences. That's what a mechanic does. Mechanic invested his energy and time into learning mechanics. Now it trades his experience for money. It does these things, these mechanics, for money. Now it takes those experiences. He could go and blow it on a weekend in Vegas, or he could learn another thing, learn how to weld, learn how to be a carpenter. And then he has a wide range of things he can do. So maybe today he don't want to be a mechanic. He just wanted to work on this today. He works on this project today. And then when he's done with that, he works on the next thing, because he has a basket of things that he's mastered. So he never gets sick of anything. So that's kind of what you got to do. Work for people until you can work with people. Gradually do it, man. The more that you're in alignment with your breath, the more you're going to get purged out of things that aren't conducive to self-realization and to self-sustenance. Solar flash reset. If it's coming, do you think that will reset all humans? Pharaoh said it'll be like a magnetic thing. Like there's this device that it's like a magnetic device. If you run it over like old cassette tapes, the musical ones, it'll wipe that cassette clear. And like, it's the same thing with cassette tapes. Is like the same thing with people. He was saying, like, if you have a cassette tape and then you dub over it, you record over it, and then you record over it again, you record over it again, all the original recordings are still there. They're just layered, stacked on top of each other. So it's all there. All your lifetimes are there. So while you're alive, you definitely want to fast and get in touch with those as much as possible, so that if there is a wiping, you've already experienced that. So where the core of you, the immaterial, the non-physical part has already has all of that, and has already begun to store those memories into its next body, wherever that body may be. And then he was saying, when the flash happens or when the magnetism happens, that since children are already pretty much wiped, they'll survive. The adults, maybe they'll survive. I don't know. But he was saying a lot of adults will be wiped out, kind of like that mural in the Denver airport. I don't know. which is a lot of projection here, but it sounds like it's more likely than not, honestly, if you ask me. But that's just me. So, like they say, unless you're like in Matthew, the book of Matthew is saying, unless you're like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. So you got to have true innocence or whatever. So, you want to already be in touch with all your lives and be like a child, so that when the wiping happens, you've already transmigrated into a child body. Maybe you've had a child consciously. So if you wipe them, they don't have anything but knowledge of self. The codes are in their blood. They don't have those memories, those worldly memories. That doesn't really mean anything to them. Like if you get Men in Black like wiped and you're like 6 months old, those memories that you have, they're just worldly memories. But the embedded blood, the stuff that's embedded in the blood and in the breath, those memories, those are there, stored in there. So it's like if a dog, it gets sick, it knows to eat grass to help the indigestion. You didn't have to tell it to eat the grass, it just does that. That is knowledge of self. So that type of stuff will always survive through the reset. So you want to know knowledge of self from opinion and from ideas and conceptual knowledge. You want to have actual experiential knowledge and embed that into yourself, to where if you have a child, you can embed that into them, and then it's in the blood. It's in your blood and in their blood, and then your blood is plasma, so it's an extension of the immaterial plasma. So when that happens, you get a wiping or a plasma event, you're still retaining, your soft drive. You can take it, those memories, into the next hard drive, to the next body. Can I do a live with Pharaoh again? I don't know. I don't know if we will. I really don't know. Is the Ibermelon book a book of magic? I tried looking it up just now. Yeah, it's about some dude named Abraham. You can check it out on Wikipedia just to get the gist of it. Thoughts on "There is no spoon" quote from The Matrix? Yeah, I mean, you can look at it like this: reality is like kind of superimposed over the ultimate reality, and it kind of never existed in a sense, because it's just a figment that is transient, that you're experiencing out of contrast from eternity. It's your contrast to eternity. The transient is the contrast to eternity. So you're experiencing illusion. Eternity is reality. So you're experiencing illusion and transientness. So you're experiencing nothingness in a sense, if that answers the question. But that's what gives contrast, to where you're realizing yourself through what isn't you, and you're realizing creation through being a creature, through creation. Can you speak more to finding your true voice as a musician? Do breath work. Do a lot of breath work. Qigong. Get in touch with the TCM sounds and the 11 laws of life sounds, the hekaus. The hekaus of the Medu Neter, not a haiku. Hekau, Hekau. Get in touch with the hekaus. Anima Man 2, I'll do the audiobook for Anima Man 2 when I finish writing Anima Man 3. I gotta write something else though, I feel like, before I write that. But I'll get to it. I'm on an intake mode more than an outgoing. This is a mini output, this live is right now. What type of water should we be drinking initially before we're out of the city? When it comes to water, water is distilled water. That's water. That's unadulterated water, neutral water. When it's alkaline, it has something in it. It's not just water. It has inert minerals in it. If you're drinking coconut water, that'd be divine. That'd be great, because it's actually live alkalinity in there. It's live electrolytes, what they call electrolytes. Electricity, alkalinity is in there. It's live. It's not inert. It's not rocks. It's not sediment in the water. And of course, acid water is going to promote an acid environment, and what comes with that. How to cleanse after sleeping with a vaxxed woman. I was looking into, like, somebody sent me something about pine needle therapy and bee sting therapy, stuff like that, to help with, like, the spike protein ingestion that you might have got exposed to. I don't know, man. I don't know. I really don't know. I've never done it, so I can't really say confidently I know what to do. But fasting is going to be always helpful. It's always going to complement whatever cleansing you're doing. Did I get the ivermectin? Yeah, I got the ivermectin. I thought when I talked about that, I had already used it. But anyway, yeah, I got the ivermectin. It definitely helped with my dreams. I had I collapsed a bunch of parallel dreams when I took the ivermectin. I had a headache for like 2 days. I'd wake up with a slight headache. And then after that, I just felt a lot better. It definitely helped me quit weed. I was already quitting weed. I was already a few weeks off of weed, but I was still thinking about it. But after that, there's no more thinking about it. Astigmatism. I see lightning. I see lighting blurry. How to get rid of it without glasses? Glasses are going to make your eyes weaker, bro. Contacts are going to make your eyes weaker and making you more dependent. It's like walking around with crutches for the rest of your life. You got to walk. You got to start to, train those muscles again. You got to go through eye exercises. And just like anything, you got to strengthen anything. You can't rely on the crutches. So ask your questions now, man. My phone's going to die soon. Thoughts on children being born premature? They're I mean, I met a child that was born premature. I knew him intimately. I still know him. I watched him grow up. I feel like it was a miracle that he's alive, but it's definitely a hindrance. Definitely didn't help him like if he would have fully matured on the inside before coming out. It's just like, look at Louise Hay. Symptoms of the causes for symptoms. Premature birth probably has something to do with a bunch of premature things, doing things before you're really ready. It's probably a lot of metaphysical reasons for arriving too early. What if you spent many years ejaculating? Can you replenish that life force, or is it gone after that? Well, that nectar is gone. You have to regenerate, restore the original template. You have to cleanse the body out, restore the template, let it heal, so that you can regenerate from the more original template, the natural template that you were supposed to be, and then you regenerate seed from that place, and then you never make those mistakes again, and then you're a totally different being in a sense. You're no longer that being that you were. You've kind of transmigrated within yourself. What does the vax do? I didn't get the vax, but got to be careful, right? Don't want the video to get banned, right? On a mental level, or on a physical and mental level, you're bypassing things because your natural means of taking things in. Your skin takes in light through its pores, takes in moisture through its pores, air through its pores, but it doesn't take needles through the pores. So it's a bypassing at some level. You're disrespecting yourself, to say the least. So some people say 30% of it was placebo. Some people say 30% of it is a soft kill that'll take a while, and then some say 30% of it was hot, and people are gonna really start to go soon. I don't know. We'll see, right? question. How are you? I'm well. I myself, I don't know. It's another broad question from abroad too. So is father's mother's skill set embedded in my blood like 50-50 them? Thank you. The memories, if they created a, because you are your own ancestor. You have a child, then your child has a child, then the child has a child, and then that's who you are. And it keeps going, you know? So it's like all one in a sense. You know, you just want to create new memories and new experiences that you can be present for with your true self. Thoughts on Nimrod and Semiramis? Nimrod is a Hamite. Ham comes from Noah, who comes from Lamech. And, you know, they say Lamech was a fallen angel. So I'm thinking Lamech's wife was probably an Aboriginal, and Noah was part Aboriginal, partly fallen angel. But we're talking like first generation albino or angel or whatever, how you want to look at it. So Noah probably was still dark skinned. So then he had Ham, Shem, and Japheth. They were probably all still predominantly Aboriginal or dark. And, you know, Nimrod is, I think Nimrod's coming from one of them, Cushput or Mizraim. He's definitely not a Canaanite, but he's still a Hamite. I guess you could take that for what you will. What's the deal on vowels, language, etymology? Well, vowels block the rhythm of language. People used to think in rhyme and speak in rhyme because everything was rhythm. Even math was arithmetic. Everything was rhythm and flow, and the vowels obstruct the flow, and it's a hindrance to the communication. What other Hilton Hotima books did you enjoy besides Man's Higher Consciousness? You know, I really don't know. At one point, I was reading like a book every other day, and I read a lot of books. I really don't know. How to attain Akashic records. Akash means black or dark, so you gotta get in touch with the darkness. You gotta do breath work in the dark. You gotta clear out all the light, all the external light from your body, so that you can dream and not have all that light pollution, all that food and garbage in your body, so that you can get in touch with the darkness. Can you elaborate on working with people and describe what it looks like? Symbiosis, not a hierarchy in a sense. Order. You can have order in the sense of I guess you call it a hierarchy, where it's like elders. You have everybody else that's between an elder and an infant, and so you have respect to that order. But like working for someone is using your breath to promote their dream, and it's not on the way to producing your dream. So like if you're doing something, you're working for a company that you have faith in, and the company does things that the projects allow you to further realize yourself and help the world, then that's on the way to yourself. It's on the way to the way. So that's working with them, even if you are a supposed subordinate. Let's see. I think that's it. What are your thoughts about Shavambu for an athlete? When it comes to drinking your urine, I mean, Sebi said he did it at 6 weeks. I think about 6 weeks of drinking only water. Or coconut water. I think I'd be comfortable with drinking my urine at that point. But last time I was there at that point, I didn't. So maybe the next time. When it comes to being an athlete, are you doing it for play, or are you doing it to compensate for something? Because that's what most of the athletics are, man. Even the word gym comes from the Greek word for doing athletic performances naked. Because again, the Greeks, a lot of them was bati boys. You know, anybody that's a West Indian, they knows what a bati boy is. So they was flames. You know, a lot of them. A lot of them was weirdos. So they a lot of athletics. You know, once you leave the childhood age and you get into grown men playing it, you're getting, you know, and it's not for play. It's like, you know, you're really doing it for like the bread and circus end of it. You know, you're getting more into entertainment and more into like self-hate really and distraction. If you're doing it just to play, just to feel your body and be one with your brothers, then I feel like that's fine. But for the most part, electrolytes is what you would need when it comes to replenishing for play. Anything that was going to require more dense fuel to heal from, you know, you're probably hurting yourself repeatedly. That's what, you know, when people tear their muscles repeatedly, that's what swelling is, man. You're swollen as an injury. You're compounding an injury. So you're going through working out is a self-induced fever. So you take in a bunch of things that you shouldn't have eaten. Now you need to exorcise. Exorcism. You're exorcising demons. So you're going through a self-induced fever, heating up to burn off the garbage. So, I mean, if you're just inspired to go play, that's different than like having a workout that is just strictly to compensate for some other thing. Because it's such a compensating game. It's like, I identify with this thing because it gives me value. So, and I can use it as a status symbol. And if I attain this identity of being a player, a football player, whatever it is, and I can compensate for everybody else's failures around me, supposedly, like I buy my mom a house or whatever. I can, you know, do whatever. A lot of that is that. A lot of the athletic desire is that. It's a childhood game, though, man. It's just for kids, man. It's for children. I really don't have a problem with it if you're like doing it for play, though. Like if you're a grown man and it's just for play, and you're like, man, I don't really want to hit the gym today. I don't really want to lift or nothing like that. I don't want to hit the track. I want to go shoot some hoops or play some soccer or whatever. Like be with my brothers playing, you know, I mean, doing this. And I don't really care about, I mean, you want to win because you make each other better by having friendly competition. And you don't do anything unless you want to be the best. So you want to do that to bring out the best in each other. But it's not so much about the winning as the experience, as the process of playing and experiencing the circulation. So, you know, that's so much about the athletics thing and working out. But as far as Shivambu is concerned, man, I don't see why you would want to cycle certain things back unless you were totally clear. Like, if you're still eating certain foods, then your body is still using that water to detox with. So I don't see why you would drink it again. Doesn't really make sense to me. I feel like you reach a certain stage of detox and then you can drink it. But like, for instance, when I used to drive across the country frequently, I used to get high just so that I could dehydrate and put toxins in my body. Because if I had to urinate on the road and say I didn't have no more bottles to piss in or something, so I had to piss on the road and I wanted to stop having to piss, I would just smoke so that I would dehydrate and then I would have toxins in my body. The water that I have would now get used and recirculated throughout my body so that I could detox that garbage. So then I piss again and I noticed the toxins in the piss. I could see the heaviness of the piss is different than if I wasn't smoking, wasn't eating, and was fasting, only having fluids. Then I could see the weight, the total weight of the piss is different. And you can see the way it falls to the bottom of a toilet, you know, or the foam in it. You can see the different qualities of urine. And I just don't see why you would cycle something back if you already hadn't reached a state of not needing solid foods anymore. If you reach that state of no longer desiring solid foods and then you're just hydrating, then you're just cycling the water, and then you're probably in an environment where your skin isn't absorbing garbage from the air. So you're not cycling that back too. So, because you're eating physical foods out of an emotional response, because people eat like what they feel like eating. They don't eat for what it will make them feel like. They eat for how they feel before instead of after. So you're eating out of an emotional response. So then you drink the water as an emotional solvent to cleanse that earth, that food, to process it, to get it out. So to drink that water doesn't make sense to me. Once you've gotten past that emotional dysfunction and you've processed the experience of being dense, I can see, going to that point of Shivambu, and then eventually to the point of you're not drinking water no more. You're an atmospheric water generator. Google that, atmospheric water generator. Everything that's ever been created comes from the mind of man, because the mind is the body, and the body is the mind in 3D. So everything that exists in creation is a reflection of the body. So an atmospheric water generator is an expression of our own faculty to do that. So once you stop eating the emotional foods, the dense foods, then you're just drinking water, because your body's fully developed anyway. If you're 29 or older, you already passed that point of being weaned off of the density. So now you're just taking in fluids and maintaining. Body's mostly moisture anyway. So and then you get to a point where you're no longer needing fluids. You're living in an environment where it's so much electricity in the environment, in the air, moisture in the air. You're generating the moisture that way. You're living a different life. Your actions are all in accord with your breath. You're not getting ahead of yourself. You're letting your breath catch you accordingly. Then you're not even going to be, if you do urinate, it would be seldom. It would just be a cycling. I don't see why you would even urinate at that point if you're in such a pristine environment and a pristine lifestyle. But that's a lot of steps away for a lot of people. Life after the physical. Thoughts on life after the physical. There's no separation. You got to read the Hua Hu Ching. Huahu Ching. Hua Hu Ching. There's no separation. You're always going to have a physical element to being. There's always some level of you that is physical. It just gets more dense. It condenses, and then it's like water. You have condensation and evaporation. Is it safe to stay in U.S.? Why not Costa Rica? They have been tearing down 5G towers. It's a world empire. Everything is dependent on the U.S. dollar still. Even Bitcoin and all that stuff is ranked or measured by the U.S. dollar. That's still the world reserve currency. And Costa Rica is like a speed bump, man. They can't even defend themselves in that country. It's like a third of the size of Florida. And most of the Aboriginal culture got wiped out. You got your Black Jacobins and Moors that are on the east, so-called Jamaicans that are in eastern Costa Rica, but you don't really have any Aboriginals in Costa Rica. That's a lot of Central America. It's either hybridized or completely sequestered Aboriginals, and or ran out totally altogether. And like I said, man, everything's connected to the U.S. dollar. So the U.S. dollar goes down. Costa Rica is heavily dependent on the flow of traffic from the U.S. dollar, and also for military. So I don't see why you would leave America for Costa Rica when you could just live in Florida or Texas or something. I don't really see it, because you're disarmed. You have a lower amount of Aboriginals, and I don't know. They don't speak English. If you speak English, if you speak Spanish, I mean, I guess maybe you're better off. But I just don't see a point in being there. That's just my opinion on most of the world. Honestly, I feel like America is gonna go down last because it's the head. Like it's the It's where everything has to, they're going to collapse all them other nations so that you have mass migration into America. And then you collapse America, and then it's worldwide communism. Everybody is equal because everybody doesn't have shit. So that's what the goal is. So I would rather be in America. Plus, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have Aboriginal American in me from the North. My people are from South Carolina. So I don't have an affinity with that area. Outer space is inner space. Higher spiritual gurus, I guess, man, you can just go to Pharaoh, man. Pharaohshouse.com. My daily breathwork routine is one at 5 a.m. and then another one at sunset, and then another one before I lay my body down. I'm torn on diet: carnivore, vegan, fruitarian. Some people need animal foods, depending on your microbial flow. You know, if you got adult parasites in there, and you've been doing that for a long time, if you stop, you could possibly die. So, I mean, like if you're like 60 and you've been eating a certain way, it's gonna be hard for you to turn around because the parasites support so much of your bodily functions. So, you know, for some people, yeah, maybe they should keep eating it if they don't want to die all at once. How do you find inspiration to write books or make music? It just happens. The more I cleanse, the more it just happens. It's not like a trying thing. It just happens, man. The best way to regenerate sexual energy after years of ejaculation and bad food is to fast, breath work, saw palmetto, sarsaparilla, contribo, guaco, ombre grande, yellow dock, all the Sebi quality herbs right there, right? Anybody that knows about the Viento, the original Viento. Them iron laden herbs, pygeum. I got a book on it, man. You can also buy that. I can also stop giving out its free game. Thoughts on neem versus turmeric for OSHA's breaking up without sperm to spread out. To break, I mean, circulation. So much, anything that's coagulated or locked up just isn't getting circulation. Steps towards autonomy is to realize your true breath signature. Then you can realize your true signature in general. Your what's you and what's not you, what's for you, what's not for you. And then you realize that, and then you move accordingly. As far as astrology goes, man, I would check out Bazi, Bazi. Check out the Bazi birth chart. To me, it's a great perspective from the East. Check them all out. Why not? Sidereal, tropical, check them all out. And then cross-reference it with your life and then people around you. Why would you limit yourself? Isn't ivermectin a pharmaceutical? Consuming it fucks up the body. Yeah, ivermectin is it's a parasite killer. I wouldn't take it every day, you know, but if you have an abundance of parasites or a very deep infestation, you know, might want to try it. I'm not telling everybody to do it. Getting off of weed, mainly just, it ran its course, man. It ran its course. I just couldn't do it no more. It was just hindering my breath work. And then, like, I could just see it. It was aging me. Weed was really aging me. And then I could see what it was doing to me sexually. It made me want more sex than I really wanted. And then I wasn't as present during the sex anyway. Because my breath wasn't flowing like it should have. It wasn't bad. It's just not exactly how it should be. And something that's special, you should do it exactly right. So that's what it did for me. You know what I mean? I could tell I was aging, and I could tell it was interfering with my sexual energy and the way my relationship with sex. And it blocked my dreams. You know, I picked the dreams over the drugs. I think that's it. Where would you tell a beginner to find the breath? The Secret of the Golden Flower. But even before The Secret of the Golden Flower by Wang Zhongyang, you should read The Medu Netter, the first Medu Netter. Metuneter. Medu Netter. There's no vowels really. Medu Netter. But that's what it is. Metu Neter. Or Medu Netter. If we're so perfect in the past, how did we end up here like this? Somebody is always perfect, though. It's always like somebody holding it down. And then you have, you know, people that are further from the source. And this is a free will zone, you know. You can lose yourself. You can go through that process if you wanted to challenge yourself through losing yourself to find yourself again. Or if you just never, ever, you're just a graft. And you never were yourself, really. You're just a graft. So now you have to realize the self so that you can graft yourself to the grapevine. So you're like a slice from perfection. You never ever really realized it. Now you have to go through that process so that you as a graft yourself to perfection. Yeah, turpentine too. Yeah, I use turpentine. Yeah, I mean these things that you use, I use them without planning and sporadically. I don't really use them all the time because again, like Pharaoh was saying, you don't want to tell your parasite your regimen or your plans. So it's just more so like, all right, the spirit of turpentine right now makes sense. Do this right now without hesitation. The parasite's gonna get caught off guard. Diatomaceous earth right now without hesitation. The parasite don't know this is coming. Boom! It didn't know that was gonna get thrown in the mix. You know, different things like that. You gotta mix it up. I don't see myself leaving USA. Um, I just don't see myself leaving USA. I'd rather go down with the ship anyway. Because if America goes down, everything's going to go down. I don't know what people think. You look at, you think China's going to rule the world. They're heavily tied to the American dollar. They having a run on their banks. Everything's connected. The U.S. dollar goes down, the trade goes down. There's no place for people to migrate to, That's what I mean. They're going to keep America up just enough so they collapse the third world more and more. Then they rushed all those people into America to make America totally third world, and then it collapses. But that's their agenda. You know what I mean? That's the site's agenda, and if that's what's going to be, that's what's going to be. I just need to realize myself and use this time now to afford myself experiences that I can embed into my blood so that I can move on from this experience. It can't be fear and death. It's inevitable. Talking more about the grid. You got to ask specific questions, man. We live on a grid of ley lines or law lines. Anxiety, you got to cleanse your bladder and your kidneys. The old world erased history. Yeah, a lot of it has been erased, but again, the body is an expression of life itself. So if you go into Aboriginals, they are an embodiment of the old world. It's in them. It might be dormant, but it's there. You can't delete it all. It's always there. If the parasite deleted everything, then everything would cease to exist. Parasite don't want to kill everything. It just wants to ride the wave. So it don't want to kill the wave creator. I'd rather live in red states than blue states, or red areas, really red areas than blue areas in America, just so you can have some freedom and because those are all the areas with peace of mind and are rural. Those are the rural areas. I don't really have a travel destination planned. If I never leave, I think I might drive across the country sometime between now and the end of the year, but I'll probably come back here to California, to Kings Canyon. I'm getting another property somewhere in the country so that I can have a bug out spot, but I don't think I have any intentions on traveling. If I do, it would just be sporadic. If things open up, if November's different and things just look like they're going to have an upswing, and I have another period of being able to maybe do some worldly things, maybe I'll play another season. And if I play another season, I'll play in Brazil, and that'll be my last season. And then maybe I'll just go into coaching. If I left America anyway, I would go to Brazil, but only if Bolsonaro's the president. Honestly, because Bolsonaro's like, I don't want to be a dick rider or nothing, but as far as like the presidents go, he's the only one that handled the COVID shit correctly. He's the only one that be saying real shit. I mean, Trump was saying some real shit, but he always had a point where he would stop. So it made me not trust him even more, maybe. Bolsonaro would admit he was wrong. Like, I knew we shouldn't have rolled out these jabs. Trump's still dying with a lie. So if I was gonna go anywhere, it'd be Brazil because they got some gun rights. Keep motherfuckers up off you as this process into cannibalism ensues. Don't mean I'm gonna kill somebody just because I have a gun. Rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it, though. I mean, I Ching, man, it's two different ways you can use it. Toss the coins or throw the yarrow sticks. You got to read the book front to back. I've read it twice. I want to read it again. You can read it for the rest of your life. No, I don't play any instruments, man. I do have a keyboard, though, I've been practicing with. But I can't say I play. I'm just learning. Yes, traumas cause depression if you don't address them. I don't think there's a problem with living with your parents, man, if there's symbiosis there. If you can actually communicate. The house is communicating. I don't think there's a problem. I really don't think there's a problem. I think that's how it should be. I've been to other countries where they got the grandparents on the first level because they can't go up and down the steps, the parents on the next level, the kids on the top level. So if somebody comes into the house, you got all these levels they got to go through before they can get to the children. And you all are all in one place. You got a courtyard. These are some broke ass countries I've been in that are like that. I used to live in Egypt. A lot of people was poor, but they lived like that. And I felt like they had a lot more community and they were a lot more innocent, a lot more 25, 26-year-old virgins, people really taking care of themselves in a metaphysical sense. They might not do things physically like I would like them to do, but I can respect what they're doing right, though, or correctly. People changing their eye color. Your eye color is what it is. Some people just have a lot of garbage, so it looks darker or hazel or green, but it's just usually just mucus, lymph in there. So once they detox, the true color shines through. Is it better to rule hell than serve heaven? No. You rather not exist than live in hell. Kind of the same thing. Living in hell is like not existing. Your infinite desire, you're kind of not existing because hell is infinite desire. You kind of don't exist because you're not present. You're constantly desiring, so you're essentially not existing. But that's what hell is. You reign in hell is like you're reigning over yourself. It's like if your asshole was above your mouth instead of the other way around. Check out the Breathwork and Detox playlist on this channel, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ROYALT227, royalty227, youtube.com/royalty227. I got a Breathwork and Detox playlist, and it has everything as far as detoxing and breathwork that you want to find. All right, that's it. My phone about to die. Ciao, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Anime Man 2 is now available. Order in the Bedroom is available. And Infinite Incarnation is available. Those are all my latest releases as far as books. They're $10 each. Or you can get 45 PDFs and 4 audiobooks for $50. And so it's basically like $1.02 per item. So that's really about it, man. I appreciate y'all time. I'm gonna throw this up on YouTube for the people that missed it. Again, it's youtube.com/ROYALT227 or King Collage, QING Collage on YouTube as well. On Twitter, I'm Towler on Facebook, but I'm currently banned for another like 27 days. So, yep, you just check me out on here. And I don't know if I'm gonna be doing another one with Pharaoh. I'm not really sure. I have really no idea. So I can't speak on that really, honestly. So I guess contact him directly, pharaohshouse.com, at Pharaoh's House, and Ahaya Kanak on Facebook. Like I said, AHAYAKANAK, Ahaya Kanak. That's Pharaoh on Facebook. So that's it, y'all. I'm gonna throw this up there.